Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always.
Well, today we're soaring into a world of dragon riders
Oh,
and ancient magic and political intrigue, all in the Kingdom of Navarre. We'll be exploring the world of Rebecca Yarros's novel,
Yeah.
Onyx and Storm. It's a wild ride, to say the least. We'll be trying to understand the power structures,
yeah.
the complex characters, and a mystery that could change everything. So get ready for dragon battles, forbidden romance, and a quest for knowledge
Yeah.
that might just save the kingdom.
Sounds intense.
Yeah, definitely.
So one of the things that grabbed me right away about Onyx and Storm
Yeah.
is how Yarros blends this epic, fantastical backdrop with real human emotions. We're not just thrown into a world of dragons, you know.
Right.
We see characters wrestling with real dilemmas,
Yeah.
just amplified by the presence of magic.
Yeah, and the heart of the story is in Navarre, this kingdom where dragon riders are both celebrated and feared. We're introduced to the Navarre War College, where these riders train and prepare to defend their land from these creatures called venin.
Oh, right, the venin.
Yeah, they wield dark magic and are a constant threat.
The venin are interesting because they're not just a physical threat, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean.
They represent that darker side of humanity, that potential for, destruction and corruption,
Oh, for sure.
which is something we all have inside us.
Definitely. And speaking of complex characters, we meet Violet Sorrengail. She's our protagonist, a young woman determined to prove herself as a writer,
Okay.
even though she faces prejudice because her power is manifested later in life.
Interesting.
Yeah, and she's bonded to Tairn, who's a formidable dragon, and their journey is intertwined with Xaden.
Made in rears.
Yeah, the Duke of Tyrrendor, a
Right.
skilled rider, but he has a dark secret,
Oh.
a power that's threatening to consume him.
This is where Yarrow's exploration of power gets really interesting.
Right.
Xaden represents both the good and bad of power. He's constantly battling his inner demons, trying to control his power and use it for good.
Yeah, to resist that pull towards darkness.
It's exactly.
It makes him one of the more intriguing characters, for sure. And then, on top of all of that, there's the political intrigue.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Navarre is tangled up in a complicated relationship with Orisha, another kingdom with dragon riders.
Okay.
But Orisha has these strict laws against magic-wielding flyers like Violet, which creates this tension and mistrust.
I see.
Yeah.
So the conflict between them isn't just about territory, right?
No.
It's this clash of ideologies.
Yeah.
Orisha represents a fear of the unknown, the desire to control and suppress anything different.
Yeah, that fear of magic-wielding flyers speaks volumes about their values and how they view power.
For sure.
It makes you think, what if magic existed in our world?
Right.
Would we embrace it?
Or would we be,
Or would we try to, control it?
control it? And I think Yarros is, holding a mirror to our own society, prompting us to examine our own biases
Definitely.
and our responses to those who are different.
Yeah, those with abilities that challenge the status quo.
Right.
It's so much more than just a fantasy story.
Oh, absolutely.
And speaking of challenging the status quo, there's this seventh dragon breed, the Irid, represented by Andarna.
The Irid.
They're ancient and elusive, and there are whispers that they hold knowledge that could be the key to defeating the venin.
The Irid is fascinating because they represent a connection to a time when magic was viewed differently.
Right.
They've even used differently. Their peaceful nature
Yeah.
suggests a kind of wisdom that's been lost.
Oh, totally. It makes their potential role even more interesting. Finding more of them becomes important, not just for Andarna, but for the hope they hold for Navarre. Violet's quest to find them adds this whole other level of suspense.
It does. And it also sets up a contrast between
Yeah.
the Iris philosophy and how Navarre and Orisha view magic.
Right.
Their peaceful existence challenges this idea that
Right.
magic is always dangerous.
Right. And then there's the mystery of the Krovlan Uprising, this historical event that's connected to the current conflict. We see Violet digging into her father's research, finding clues that could change everything.
Oh, wow.
It keeps you guessing, trying to solve it along with her.
My bet.
So we've got dragon riders, ancient magic, political maneuvering, and a mystery waiting to be solved. What's the most compelling part of this world for you so far?
It's how Yarros uses all of these fantastical elements to explore real human dilemmas. The conflict between Navarre and Orisha, the prejudice, the struggle to control power. These are all things that resonate with our own experiences.
You're absolutely right. It's a reflection of ourselves, our own struggles, and the choices we make when faced with, power, fear, the unknown.
Yeah, exactly. As we get further into Onyx and Storm, it becomes clear that Yaros isn't afraid to challenge us.
Oh, totally.
She presents these characters who aren't just good or bad.
Right.
They make decisions that make you question what's right and wrong.
That's so true. Like Halden. Oh, Violet's brother.
Yeah, he seems like this charming prince at first.
Yeah.
But then you see he's much more complicated.
Right.
He's wrestling with duty, loyalty, his family legacy.
Halden's a great example of how Yaros flips those traditional character types.
Yeah.
He's not just the supportive brother or the heir to the throne,
Totally.
He has his own ambitions and his own ideas of what's best.
Yeah.
Even if it puts Violet at risk.
It definitely makes things unpredictable.
Definitely.
And even Violet makes some questionable choices.
Oh, yeah.
Remember when she goes into Eresia,
Right.
defying orders
Against orders.
and risking those peace talks?
That was a big one.
It shows her loyalty to Xaden
Yeah.
and how desperate she is to find a cure.
Mm-hmm.
But she's impulsive.
Yeah, I see that.
It makes you think about leadership,
Right.
Is it always about following the rules? Or are there times you have to bend them
Or even break them.
when the stakes are high enough?
Exactly. These are questions that real leaders face. They are.
And Yaros doesn't give you easy answers.
No, she doesn't.
She makes you really think about their motivations.
And the consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Another scene I remember is when Violet confronts the king of Navarre, using Andarna, the Irid, to get what she wants.
Oh, wow.
It felt risky,
Yeah.
maybe even a little morally gray.
That's what makes Yaros so good.
Yeah.
She puts the characters and us as readers
Right.
in these tough situations. It's not always clear what the right thing to do is.
Yeah, and using Andarna like that raises questions about power.
About manipulation.
It makes you think, how far would you go to protect someone you love?
Right.
Would you be willing to compromise your own morals?
Or risk hurting someone else to achieve something important.
It's a tough question.
It is, and it shows how Yaros uses these fantastical elements
Yeah.
to get at real human issues.
Absolutely. Speaking of fantastical elements, the magic system in Onyx and Storm is so intricate.
It is.
You've got dragon riders channeling their dragon's power, signets granting abilities, and this dark magic. It feels so well thought out.
Yaros has built this magic system that feels fantastical,
Yeah.
but also grounded in its own logic. It's not just waving wands and stuff.
Right.
There are rules and consequences.
Like the bond between writer and
Yeah, it's not just a physical connection.
Yeah.
It's this deep emotional bond.
it adds a whole other layer to their relationships.
And the signets, those symbols that give each rider special ability.
Yeah.
It's like they're superpowers, but personalized.
Right.
They can be both good and bad,
Mm-hmm.
shaping the riders and influencing their choices.
It's like they represent our own potential,
Right.
the talents we have, but also the challenges that come with them.
I like that. And then there's the source of dark magic, this corrupting force that tempts people, but twists them into something monstrous.
It's like a metaphor for power in the real world,
Yeah,
how it can lead to corruption and greed
sure.
if we're not careful.
Exactly. Yaros is using these elements to explore themes that are relevant to all of us.
And she does it in a way that's both entertaining and makes you think.
It's a good balance.
One of the things that really struck me was the world building.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just Navarre,
Right.
There we see other kingdoms, cultures, even different species like the Irid.
Yaros has created these worlds that feel huge, but also full of detail. We don't just hear about them, we experience them.
Through the characters, the landscapes, the little details.
Exactly.
It makes you want to explore every corner of this universe.
That's what great fantasy writing does.
Yeah.
It's not just escaping,
Right.
it's about discovering new perspectives,
I love that.
challenging what we think we know.
It's like reading a fantasy novel can make you more aware of your own world.
Exactly. And Onyx and Storm does a great job of weaving those real-world issues into the story,
For sure, we see prejudice, social hierarchy, abuse of power,
all against this backdrop of dragons and magic.
like the prejudice Violet faces for getting her powers later.
Right, it's like a parallel to how people are discriminated against for being different,
Yeah,
for not fitting in.
and the contrast between Navarre and Orisha
Yes,
shows how differently societies deal with power and control.
Orish's strict laws
Yeah.
reflect their fear of the unknown.
It makes you think about how fear drives so much prejudice and discrimination,
It often does,
and how those in power use that fear to stay in control.
which is something that unfortunately happens in our world too.
It does.
And it's not just outside forces that threaten the balance of power.
Right.
We see corruption within Navarre itself. In the scenarium, the ruling council.
Oh, yeah, they seem more concerned with their own authority than with protecting the kingdom.
They'll sacrifice anyone to keep things as they are.
Even their own dragon riders.
It's scary to see how power can corrupt,
Yeah.
even those with good intentions.
It shows that power always needs to be held accountable.
Absolutely, and it's often those who challenge authority who can bring about change.
We've talked about the plot, the world, the themes, but what about the characters?
Yeah.
What did you think of Yaros's character development?
I was really struck by how much emotion she gives each character. They're not just going through the motions. They have their own histories, their own reasons for doing things. You see their strengths and weaknesses.
And it makes them feel real.
Exactly. Even the smaller characters feel fully developed.
I agree.
They have their own personalities, relationships.
It makes the world feel more alive.
And that extends to the relationships between the characters.
Yes.
You see friendship, family, and of course, the romance between Violet and Xaden.
Oh, their relation
It's intense.
It's a roller coaster.
It's constantly being tested.
By outside forces and their own issues.
What's interesting is that it's not just a romantic subplot.
No, it's central to the story.
Their love for each other affects
Their
everything.
decisions, their actions.
It even plays a role in the fate of the kingdom.
Their love story is like a smaller version of the novel's themes.
Yeah, the struggle between light and dark,
Hope and resilience.
the power of human connection.
And Yaros builds the tension so well.
She does.
They face so many obstacles, but their love always pulls them back together.
It's like a beacon of hope amidst all the chaos.
Speaking of chaos, we're heading into the final part of Onyx and Storm,
Oh yeah,
where everything is at stake.
I'm ready.
This final act is going to be a whirlwind.
Can't wait.
But before we get there, let's give our listeners something to think about. We've seen these characters face difficult choices, the weight of responsibility, the consequences of their actions. What would you do in their shoes?
That's a good question.
Would you put duty above love? Would you sacrifice yourself for the greater good?
It makes you think about your own values and beliefs.
That's the power of a good story.
It entertains us, but it also challenges us.
And hopefully makes us a little more aware of ourselves and the world. All right, we're back, and things are getting real in this final act of Onyx and Storm.
The showdown we've been waiting for.
Yeah, the conflict with Theophany, that power-hungry dark wielder, it all comes to a head.
Her ambitions are a threat to everything Violet and Xaden are fighting for.
Right, and Yaros really ramps up the tension in this part.
Oh, for sure.
She throws Violet and her allies into some crazy situations.
Making them face their fears and make tough choices.
Yeah, and Theophany is ruthless.
Yeah, she's not messing around.
She doesn't just want to beat Violet.
No.
She wants to break her, use her weaknesses against her.
She's trying to turn her to the darkness.
Exactly. She kidnaps Mira, Violet's sister,
Oh, wow.
and lures them to Dreyfus, this ancient ruined city full of dark magic.
It's a trap.
A trap designed to push Violet to her breaking point.
And Dreyfus itself becomes almost like a character.
Right.
A symbol of the darkness at play.
It's not just a setting, it adds this whole other level.
The confrontation between Violet and Theophany.
And Theophany is a master manipulator.
Oh, she's good.
She knows how to get to Violet.
Using her love for Xaden.
Her guilt over her mother.
And her need to protect Mira.
It's psychological warfare, just as intense as the physical battles.
She's preying on Violet's doubts. Trying to convince her that darkness is the only way.
It's scary how close she gets.
I bet.
Violet is forced to question everything she believes.
But something keeps her fighting.
It's like she has this inner strength.
That refusal to give in.
A belief in love and loyalty that won't let her break.
That's Violet's core, her defining characteristic.
And then, of course, there's the battle at Dreyfus.
The big one.
It's epic. Dragons, wyverns, magic everywhere.
Yaros doesn't hold back on the description.
No, it's a visual spectacle.
A combination of everything that's happened so far.
All the planning, the sacrifices, the bonds.
It explodes in this final confrontation.
And it's not just about individual power, it's about teamwork.
Strategy.
coordinating attacks, using everyone's strengths.
Trusting each other.
Right, and the dragons are amazing in this part.
They're not just animals, they're partners.
They're smart, emotional.
Extensions of the writer's wills.
That scene where Violet uses Tairn's power to shield her squad,
That was awesome.
it shows how strong their bond is.
And how much Violet has grown as a leader.
She's not just fighting for herself anymore.
She's responsible for others.
And Eric, with his precognitive abilities,
He plays a key role.
he's been this quiet presence.
But his visions are crucial
They add this layer of suspense.
and make you think about fate and free will.
Can you really change the future, even if you know what's coming?
It's a big question.
And then, the final showdown with Theophany.
The ultimate test.
It's a clash of everything, physically and ideologically.
She represents everything Violet is fighting against.
The hunger for power, the willingness to sacrifice anything.
And she's so good at manipulating people.
She turns their own magic against them.
It's chilling.
But in the end, she underestimates Violet.
Her own arrogance is her downfall.
She doesn't understand the power of love, loyalty, hope.
Those are Violet's strengths.
And the scene where Theophany kills Mira, Violet's sister,
Oh man,
it's devastating.
it changes everything.
It shows the true cost of this war.
Violet's grief and rage are what unlock her full potential.
She becomes this force of nature.
Fueled by love and a refusal to give up.
And that's how she finally defeats Theophany. But the victory comes at a price.
There's a lot of loss.
A lot of sacrifice.
And the characters are left to pick up the pieces.
Yaros leaves us with some unanswered questions, too.
Like, what's next for them?
Will Xaden be cured?
What about the Avarid?
What will happen to Navarre now?
Those open endings are what make you keep thinking about the story.
They spark your curiosity.
Make you want to explore more of this world.
So we've covered a lot in our deep dive into Onyx and Storm.
We have?
The world, the characters, the action, the themes. What had the biggest impact on you?
For me, it's how Yaros blends the fantastical and the personal. It's a world of dragons and magic.
But it's really about human connection.
Resilience, hope,
It's a reminder that even in the darkest times, there's always a way forward.
and that's a powerful message.
It shows the power of storytelling,
How it can transport us to other worlds.
but also reflect our own,
Challenge us, inspire us.
and maybe even make us feel a little less alone.
I think that's a great way to put it.
Well, that wraps up our deep dive into Onyx and Storm.
I really enjoyed that.
Me too! Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you next time for another deep dive.
Till then,